Hey YouTube, welcome to the final video for Operation Paris. I want to start off by saying for my final race, where I ran at 11:19, I did that race and I had a time trial, the training session before, 2 weeks before, so I didn't train a week before, and I ran 10:9. And the reason why I didn't tell you guys is because the only time I've ever ran a 10:9 stopwatch time and done accurately, because my coach would tell me if he did it wrong, was now. I've ran 11:2 and I run 11:2. I know I'm in the time to run my fastest times. For example, when I ran my 11:18 in 2023, I ran 11:2, and when I ran my 11:22 this year, I ran 11:2. So when I see 11:2s, I know I'm ready. But when I saw at 10:9, I realized that I could do more. I didn't want to tell you guys, so I didn't want everyone being shocked if I didn't break 11, which I didn't. Because to break 11, it's not a massive barrier, but everything needs to go your way physically, mentally, and the weather needs to be on your side on a day. Mentally, I was at my peak, but physically, I was not, because it was really hot and my body wasn't conditioned, as well as the fact that the wind was not on my side, so I couldn't do much. But now let's actually get into the season recap. On the screen, you've got a bunch of different things, like how many races I ran and for each event, my average times across of them, all my PBs, but how many times I PB'd, sorry, the average win for all of that. But then one thing interesting is the average time and with no wind, meaning I ended up running 11:34 and 22:85 on average for the entirety of the season, which is what I expected for the 100. It just the wind was really bad, so that didn't really show as much in my early races. And then for the 200, that is really close to the first PB that I had this season, which was 22:76, and it's a bit further away from the 22:67. But overall, that's quite good. Now, my favourite races of the season by event, first the 60 metre, ran 7:33, that specific race, because my mindset was amazing and I was really locked in. I knew I was going to win, and I even felt sorry for my competitors on the day, but I knew what I needed to go and do, went out there and did it, and I did my best. For the 100, it was the final SAL at Bromley, where I did my 11:19 into -1.3 wind. That converts to 11:1 with no wind, so it's quite obvious why that's my favourite race for the 100, considering the fact that my 11:18 PB was +2 wind, and that converts to an 11:28. So there's a big difference between these with no winds. So whilst I didn't PB officially, on a technicality I did, and it wasn't by a small amount. Then for the 200, it was Woking, where I ran the average time I did for the entire season, but with +2 wind, 22:85. I like that race because I had a similar mentality to what I had in the 60. The only difference is this was the final piece that I needed to run really quick, because throughout the entire season, you guys didn't see linear progression. I just kept facing problems and problems and problems. But this was the final eureka moment, you could say, that I needed to grab, that would allow me to mash everything I've already gathered throughout the rest of the season all into one. My improved starts from early in the season, my better acceleration, my higher top end speed somehow, and this new technique for popping my hips that I figured out. Some of it was already from 2023, and I just didn't realize how important it was until this season, which will help me for next season as well. But I mashed them all together, and this was the turning point, the first moment when I knew I could run fast. Just needs to be given the moment. For the 200 specifically, one of those, the first one was at Ashford for the first 100, and then at Woking for the final 100, where I said I split 10.5, because that was the moment where I realized, okay, we have a strong chance of breaking 22. I just need a good race. I need to have both strengths in one race, and then we could do something amazing. Didn't happen this season, but we still got next season to show that off, especially considering the fact that I wasn't conditioned well. Now, my favourite meet was Bucks indoors. I had my injured knee a few days before. My PB at the time was 7:17, and I went into that meet, sprinted for the first 30 metres, and then kind of just jogged for the final 30 metres. And whilst it was the smallest PB I've ever had in any event, it was still a PB, and then a PB that I got whilst injured. So it wasn't my true peak ability, so I was really happy knowing that I could do that even with injured knee. And it was the first time I was ever at a indoor national, so I got to experience what that was like. Because whilst I've also been to outdoor nationals, for Bucks, it's not the same environment compared to what it's like outdoors for various different reasons, conditioning, all that other stuff. So I got to figure out what that was like. A bit sad I had to go and whilst injured, but it is what it is. Then my least favourite meet was Lee Valley, indoors and outdoors. We're around 7:23, 7:22. I was really upset because at the time my PB was 7:17 in the 60, and I ran 7:19, 7:18. Then I went at Sutcliffe. Then I went again and I ran 7:19, 7:18, and I was really confused, and I kept finding out why I couldn't PB, because that was the first time I ever struggled to PB, and I never really did 60s much before this season. I did only one at Lee Valley, and then I did another one at Lee Valley in December. So January Lee Valley, then December Lee Valley in 2023. Then we rolled around to the next season from December. So this is my first time doing this many 60s, and I was a bit shocked that I wasn't PBing. So I thought it was just because it's really tight, and I was thinking Lee Valley should fix that. It didn't, and I ran my slowest times in the 60s since Luca, and these were all out times, unlike Luca. So I was a bit stunned, but I didn't like that. And then outdoors, the wind was just heavy. 4.8 wind was negative wind was my race, and people kept saying the wind was heavier than it was, because the way wind gauges work, they cancel each other out if there's winds in multiple directions, which is why people have so much against Florence Griffith Joyner's world record in the 100, because her race had, this is what's really crazy about that race, her race had no wind, according to the wind gauge, but before the race there were flags flapping and people were saying there was wind. After the race, similar story, and during the race there was a long jump or triple jump competition going on at the same time that had wind readings, and they were not within the allowable limit of plus or minus 2. So the fact that her race had no wind was shocking. And I had something similar, but the only difference was instead of a positive potential anyway, because I'm not saying her record isn't valid, I don't care. I didn't have a positive win, I had a negative, and it was crazy negative. And that's part of the reason why I kept running 11.3s, even though I went from 11.8 to 11.19, which is basically a 0.7 improvement in season's best, but it's not really accurate to really say that. More accurate would be to say I improved by about 0.1 to 1.5 if you was to fix the wind. So not as crazy as an improvement, but an improvement nonetheless. Then my favorite training session was November doing blocks. I just felt so good on that day. I remember just being in the blocks, set, my position was good, and then my technique looked flawless. It wasn't really flawless, but it felt good on the day. I just felt fast, my legs were just switching, and I was separated from everyone. By 2 steps I was ahead of everyone, and I just kept pulling away. And there wasn't a single rep that I did that didn't happen. There were some people that could sprint, but most of them weren't sprinters, a few women. There was one guy that did long jump, but the guy that did long jump or triple jump, one of the two, he could get his foot down really quick. And I was able to keep up with him on that first step. Then I pulled away from the second step every single time. So the fact that I was able to do that, I knew for a fact I am in amazing shape, and I can't wait for December when I end up showing up and I PB'd. My favorite video was Is This The End, where I got injured, specifically because that was the moment where I got injured, thinking of quitting. You didn't even record some of the reps, but I stayed in the day. Then my technique just changed. All of the pieces from earlier in the season, they all came together in this one moment and they clicked. I did everything I'd done in all the other areas, mashed them together, refined my technique, and then I think I did a time trial. It was either that day or the next week, and that's when I got my coach to do the stopwatch, got me 11.2. Then I knew I was gonna run 11.2 in competition, and I did. And from there we just saw things flying, and I ended up running 11.19 by the end of the season. Now, things that I enjoyed this season, first one was reaching 1K and getting monetized. 1K is really the only milestone in a YouTuber's career. All the others are just fake ones. So thank you guys. I didn't make a video about it, mainly because I didn't want to take away any other videos. I know I'll do that if you guys would let me. I'll take away some other video and replace it with a thank you, most likely, instead of giving you guys running content, because I thought about it from my perspective. And whilst I do appreciate YouTubers who Hey, thank you for 1K, 10K, 100K. I don't really care because I see it more transactionally as a viewer. I'm like, I give you my subscription, I give you my views, and I watch your ads on your videos, which means you get subscribers and you get paid from me. So it's just a transaction, really. I'm not here to see you thank me for doing what I want to do anyway. I want to see you make the videos that made me click. That's the best way to thank me. So that's what I try to do. I made a post in the community tab, though I know not many people look at the community tab, saying thank you, but make this public. That's me saying thank you. Because without you guys, we wouldn't got to 1K and I wouldn't be monetized. And this kind of leads into the next bit, which is meeting you guys. Once I got to 1K subscribers, I had not many competitions throughout the entire season where I didn't see at least one of you guys. And some of you showed up in my videos, and then I'd see some of you repeatedly, which was interesting. I remember the first time I saw someone in one of my subscribers at a meet. I was really shocked because I was like, this is new. I didn't realize I was famous. So if it was new, then I got used to it, and I saw you guys, put some of you in my videos, and I just kept seeing you. I think I saw one of you in Stratford. I wasn't competing, but I was watching. Ramel Glaive did 99 and 100. I might even put the video up on the screen. He broke 10, but it wasn't win legal, so it didn't count. And I think some guy came up to me whilst I was talking to someone. Well, I know some guy did. And I think he might have been a subscriber, but he walked off. He said hello. He wanted to speak to me more, but I was already in the conversation. And when I was willing to speak to him, he was gone. So if you were a subscriber, I'm sorry. You should have waited if you had the time. Though I think you were competing, so I hope your race went well. Regardless of whether you were a subscriber or not, if you see this video. And then the next thing I really liked about the season was recording the journey. Last season I did it for 2023. I did the season recap, and I also did a few meets talking about them, but the editing wasn't really high level. But I liked the idea of this season recording everything from day 1 to day 365 and showing not just the competitions or a few competitions that I wanted to show you guys, but showing you guys the training and what I was doing to lead up to these competitions and how these competitions would affect me and how I try and use these competitions as an opportunity to learn, to try and improve for the next competition and keep going and going and going. Because that's what that really matters. Whether you win or lose, all that really matters is that you improve. Whether that's physically or mentally. If you can't improve at all, you're finished. You're not going to be able to make any improvements until you figure this out. The next thing I really liked was getting injured. Not so much the injury part, but the benefits I got by being injured, because I had time to take some time off, focus on the injury, and the more I got injured, the less injuries mentally taxed me, so I got used to it, so it wasn't as big of a problem for me. And then every single time I got injured, I just come back faster. The first time I got injured was at Bucks indoors. I PB'd. I was still freshly injured and I PB'd in the 60. Then I think the second time I got injured was around when I opened my season. It was a minor injury on the same knee, but it just flared up again. I ended up PBing 22.76, got injured again before Ashford, and then I had the fastest 100-meter split ever in a 200. Got injured again near the end of the season. My technique revamped, and then I ended up stopped running 11.3s in the 100, and I was finally able to run 11.2s, and lower 11.2s, mind you, the fastest I ever did. So it made a little sense, considering the fact that these injuries were ruining my conditioning, and they should have been making me slower, but I was getting faster anyway. And that's partially because whilst I was injured, I had time to work on other things, play around with other stuff, and try to find things that could potentially make me faster, so I was grateful for that. Then the final thing for this season I was grateful for is getting sponsored by Vitaliva. I'm a hydro booster, I guess you could say. This allowed me to, especially when I got it in July and August, because I didn't compete. No, I didn't just compete. I didn't compete or train for the first 2 weeks of July, and I did for the last 2 weeks and then the rest of August, but I was only training once per week, and I was doing like 13.5 hour shifts per day for work, trying to get money, and that was about 65 hours-ish per week, because I had 1 week of sprint training. So I wouldn't need this if I wasn't working, because I'd have enough time to focus on recovery, because I'm working so much, and I was also going gym in between this every day almost, maybe not every day. I didn't have time to really focus on recovery. Well, the gym training wasn't intense, so that didn't really affect me much, but this helped me because it gave me the vitamins that I needed, because I wasn't able to eat much because I was working most of the time. It gave me the electrolytes that I needed when I was actually training, as well as helping me to recover when I wasn't training. I'm trying to go to sleep, when I'm working, whatever. This gave me energy. And I'd say the lack of this is one of the main causes why at my final SAL on Bromley, I underperformed in the 200, because I underestimated the 200, not 200, I underestimated the sun's heat on the day. Didn't drink enough water, though I had a massive bottle of cold water. Didn't drink enough electrolytes. And my performance was fine for the 100 because there wasn't much length in the day. I just started the day first competition, first race, fine, whatever. But the 200, slight delay. Not so much in timing, but just in general, like gap between 1 and 2. And I wasn't taking as much electrolytes or fueling myself up with any water or anything. So I underperformed. There were other reasons why I underperformed, which I've already addressed in my previous video. But the lack of electrolytes, I'd say, is the cause. So I'd recommend to you guys, you go buy this. I don't get any money if you go buy this. So I'm sponsored, but I'm not really affiliated, you could say. So just go on, it's on Amazon. They have blackcurrant, and I think they have another flavor, orange, maybe one more. Go get them. They do taste great. So even if you don't like end up feeling they give you any benefit to your performance, they taste good anyway. And the electrolytes are still important. And if they do, this will probably help you get faster, like how it did for me. Now, the lessons that I've learned this season is listen to your body. I would say for the last 2 seasons, I pretty much overtrained myself the entirety of the off season. I've learned from that. I'm going to manage the volume better so that doesn't happen moving forwards. And I'm just going to decrease the total training volume. Listen to my body, because I listen to my body when it comes to deload weeks. But beyond that, no. And before this, I'd go to the gym whenever I wanted, and I'd be like, let me try and max out 2 or 3 lifts. Then I max out the lifts, succeed, fail, whatever. Then I'd go the next day, max out a few other lifts. That was taxing my central nervous system and was battering my body for no reason. It was not programmed in, and if it's not programmed in, I don't need to be doing that. So you need to continue the general progression that I have and just get through the off season, get myself conditioned and start competing. The next thing is when the season is over, it's over, and it's not over early. So when my knee kept getting injured, I kept thinking I should just end the season and compete in August. Glad I didn't, because look what happened at the end. Whilst the season didn't go the way I wanted it to, it did end with a tiny little bang. So the fact that I kept going, I persevered, I can be grateful for. And without that, I wouldn't have learned what I learned, which will definitely help me in my next season when that happens. The next thing is the road isn't linear or exponential when it comes to track. It's a bit bumpy, mostly bumpy. There's ups, there's downs, and there's a bit of shakes. But at the end, once you get to the end of the season, you'll probably notice that if you haven't actually improved your times, you've learned enough to improve your times by a decent amount next season. So I think I'm lucky in the sense that my PBs didn't actually improve, but they did. And I've learned a lot, so I know next season we're going to see massive improvements. And then, unless it's a minor meet, I shouldn't be experimenting in competition, only in training. There's enough time to be experimenting in training. Don't be experimenting in competition like how I did at my last FCL, which is part of the reason why that 200 was so bad. Because I tried to float for the 50 to 100, and everyone just left me during that period. So I should have just ran the race how I normally ran. If I wanted to try floating, should have done it in training. But I didn't train to float, I trained to go all out. So I should have just followed that and then done my best in that regard. And the final lesson is winning isn't the only way to build momentum. You can build momentum by increasing your PBs in the gym, by jumping further with plyometrics, by beating someone that you never thought you could beat in maybe their strength. Not so much beating them in an entire length, for example. Maybe in a 60 meter you still lose to them, but maybe you beat them for the first 10, 20, 30 meters. Anything that can give you momentum should give you momentum. Try and find stuff. Like that's what I did. And that's why every single time I got injured, I just come back. Not so much stronger, but faster. Because I just find things that can make me faster and I'd implement them. And maybe I wouldn't directly get faster, but something would change that would bring me closer and closer to the version of myself that I want to be, which is obviously sub 11. But just remember that, because I won this season twice. I had 2 races where I won. One of them was a heats, and the other one was round 1, I believe, or it was 60. Might have been round 2, I don't remember. But I didn't have many wins, and they were all indoors, compared to the season before where I lost, what, 2 or 3 times? And I only lost in 100 meters until on my very last race where I got injured. So there was many different ways to build momentum, and if you can't find those momentum, your mentality is going to slack, and that might affect you for the rest of the season. So try and, even if it's just cope, try and find ways to get faster and follow through with those. And that's the recap for 2024. We're going to move on to the 2024-2025 season, and Operation Paris is now officially done. I'm going to start a new project. See you in the next one. Before I end the video, I want to direct you guys to 2 things. First off, my Patreon, where I've got 5 tiers, where I cover things from sprint, gym, plyometric blog posts, all the way up to coaching all 3 of those areas. And in the 5 tiers, the prices range from £3 all the way up to £40, depending on what you choose, with the lowest tier having a 7-day free trial. Along with that, all of my posts from 2023, there was about 31 of them, have all been made free. So you can just go on Patreon, get a free membership, free, don't have to pay, and you can look at all of those posts that originally you did have to pay for. Along with that, there's already a bunch of posts already scheduled or released for you guys on sprint, plyometrics and gym as blog posts. By the time you guys see this video, there should be 2 sets of those already out, and then the day afterwards, tomorrow for you guys, there should be another 3 sets already being ready to be released. So check those out. Along with that, the coaching that I give out on Patreon, I've decided to give 5 of you guys the ability for that for free. So if you want to get into that, the link's in the description, where I've got a Google Docs that will just, you answer it, fill it out, and as long as you meet the criteria, which is quite loose, you might think that ticking this will get you the coaching, but it might not, because I'm just going for a variety. I don't care if you're male or female, or if you do fit my criteria or not. I'll work with you if I think you're worthwhile, and I'll just train you for the entirety of off season, and we'll see how fast you can get. And if things go well, I might decide to do it again for pre-season or in season. We'll see. I'm not sure. But if you want to get into that, links in the description. A lot of people on my community tab, they already knew about this, and they're probably getting ready to fill it out as we go. So I'd say just hit that link, fill it out, get to it. By the time the next video, which, no spoilers, will be on the next season, comes out, I'll have already hopefully selected 5 of you guys for this. Might be a bit more, might be a bit less. We'll see, but now the video is done.